A few years ago, if you think about it, sustainability often lived in reporting and reputation. Today, it's increasingly treated as a performance agenda. Companies want to connect it to cost, resilience, competitiveness.
When I think about sustainability, it's very relevant to what all of our companies are seeing in the industry, all the challenges that we at Siemens are seeing, as well as balancing progression towards net zero, but then it's also balancing our checkbook as well.
Hello, I'm Lauren Espin. Sustainability has become a clear business priority around the world. But while ambition is high, measurable business impact has proven harder to achieve. According to UL Solutions' recent Sustainability Surge report, more than 85% of executives plan to increase their sustainability investments. Yet only about 1 in 4 currently reports seeing very high impact from those efforts. That gap between investment and results raises important questions. What's holding organizations back? And what does it take to move sustainability from a reporting requirement to a true driver of performance and growth? In this episode of The Optimistic Outlook, Erica Call, head of U.S. Sustainability Consulting and Energy Services for Siemens Buildings, sits down with Luca de Ferrari, head of America's Sales, Risk and Compliance Software at UL Solutions, to explore how the conversation is evolving across manufacturing and industrial sectors. Together, they examine why companies continue to invest. They discuss the growing importance of trusted data, analytics, and third-party assurance in turning sustainability goals into actionable strategies. And they explore how rising energy prices, grid constraints, and resilience concerns are reshaping the business case for on-site generation, storage, and advanced energy solutions. The conversation moves beyond compliance to focus on competitiveness to how leading organizations are reducing operational costs, managing risk more effectively, differentiating their products, and strengthening long-term resilience in an increasingly volatile environment. What separates companies that are accelerating from those that are moving more slowly? And where are the greatest opportunities ahead? Let's listen in to Erica and Luca.
When you look at the last couple of years, what makes you feel different about how companies are approaching this work today?
What feels different now, I think, is the intent of people. A few years ago, if you think about it, sustainability often lived in reporting and reputation. Today, it's increasingly treated as a performance agenda. Companies want to connect it to cost, resilience, competitiveness. So it's very much more of a business driver than a compliance matter. At the same time, what we're seeing is that there's much less patience for nice-to-have dashboards because leaders are asking, show me the economics of sustainability. And that's why we're seeing more demand for trusted data, analytics, assurance. So sustainability decision can be made with the same rigor as financial or operational decision. What is driving it? There's energy volatility, grid constraints, there's market access and customer requirements. And lastly, there's a regulatory pressure. The bigger change is the push to turn sustainability into measurable business value.
But many still struggle to see the real business impact. What are you seeing on your side, Luca?
There's still fundamentally an issue with achieving these goals, which is related to execution. That's really what is holding back companies. It's how to execute on these sustainability initiatives. And there's a UL Solution research that kind of captures that tension, and where you see many executives that do want to increase sustainability investment, but only a minority of these that have accomplished high impact. Fragmented data, unclear ownership on this data, and ownership on these initiatives as well, are sometimes represent a barrier for this organization to unlock the full potential. What we are seeing is that organizations that break through really treat sustainability like a business system, where basically you have governed data, you have clear accountability on who owns the data and who does what in an organization, and then also assurance so that the stakeholders that are involved can actually trust the data and, most importantly, trust the outcomes of this data.
Part of what we've been doing a lot within Siemens is really enabling Siemens ourselves, but then also many of our customers to be able to collect data, go from trying to understand what's my cost and consumption and carbon to how do I actually transition to more of a sustainable organization that allows me to balance resiliency to keep my operations ready whenever we've got multiple grid constraints. We've got rising prices of energy, yet we've also got the need for more product as well. So, collaboration with UL is helping to bridge that gap across customers and industries to really accelerate sustainability for everyone. You mentioned that it all comes back to data. Getting access to it, trusting it, actually using it. Where do you see companies struggling the most when it comes to sustainability data today and collecting of the data?
The reality, what's happening is that most organizations don't really have a single sustainability data problem. They have a data supply chain problem. That's how I would define it. And what happens is that data doesn't only sit in one system, but it may sit in several different systems in different parts of the organization. Some departments may have required data on spreadsheets. Some other departments may already have technology and databases hosting that data. Some data may sit in an ERP system. Some data may sit in a emission reporting solution. The reality is that there are silos of data, and when it comes the time to put it all together to support the decision-making process, it's a very time-consuming effort, and it's costing companies a lot of money. The other problem is the frequency or the granularity needed for the decision-making process. So one part is silos, the other part is the data granular enough to support the level of reporting and decision-making that is required by the organization. So there's a clear problem in accessing this data that companies out there are trying to overcome. Then there is the trust issue. Sometimes there are inconsistent methodologies, there's no audit trails, and this is making hard for business leaders and sustainability leaders to rely on the data and the progress being made when it comes to sustainability. We've been working with organizations that have shared with us that when they request their data from their supplier and they need product carbon footprint data, and this data may not arrive or maybe arrives late or perhaps is inconsistent across the suppliers, it's making the process of making product footprint claims very hard. Another example is we see that the energy data that might be collected from facilities, when it's not normalized and it's not contextualized in a proper way, for example, by production volume of that specific facility, all the claims that have been made around energy savings or energy optimizations get very much questioned by executive leadership and also to external stakeholders, right? They want proof that that data has been verified and it's representative of the real progress that they have been made.
Being able to centralize your data across your entire enterprise with a consistent format of data capture, then being able to validate and verify that data from a trust standpoint, that's the two pivotal pieces right there. As companies get better data, how does that shift the conversation inside an organization.
When you can trust the data, the question changes into what do we do about it? Why? Because better data creates a shared baseline across different departments. All of a sudden, they stop debating methodology on how to get the data and really start prioritizing actions. It also enables scenario planning, which is a key sort of strategic tool within an organization where people can all of a sudden evaluate different trade-offs. They can compare investments. They can track performance over time. Once the metrics becomes more auditable and decision grade, you see broader executive ownership on these initiatives, and you start seeing the executive really driving sustainability initiative and the progress thereof. Erica, a question for you. From your perspective, working with commercial and industrial customers, how is this shift showing up?
Working with our commercial and industrial clients, I would say heavily on the industrial side, we're seeing a big shift. They've got strategies, they've collected their data, they've got targets that are coming in the near future. Many of them have 2030 commitments. That's less than 4 years out. They're coming to us and Siemens, how can you help us? We've got to get to a 50% reduction. We've got to get to net zero. Uh, we need to get there quickly. How do we balance this? That's where we've been working from a holistic approach on, I call it total energy management, being able to implement efficiency projects within their sites, looking at on-site generation, and smart buildings, like going beyond just building controls, but really implementing technologies that's optimizing the performance of those buildings so that it's constantly reducing their consumption footprint. That's both supporting them in decarbonization commitments as well as helping them from a financial perspective on reducing their costs to run those facilities while ensuring operational readiness. Leveraging as a service contracting mechanisms has been a huge help because being able to get your projects implemented, spread out over, 5, 7, 10, 12, 15-year type of service arrangement whereby companies are getting the benefit of implementing projects, adding on those value-added services that are supporting their operational readiness each and every day has really been a great enabler to help with transitioning from strategy to actions.
So you talk a little bit about some of the challenges and rising energy prices, grid constraints, and some other concerns. How do you feel those pressure are changing the way your clients think about being resilient?
So, what we've seen is a growing need for on-site generation coupled with battery storage, but doing it really intelligently. So what's the cost of energy if I were to get it from the grid versus being able to look at arbitraging between my on-site assets if I'm using a pulling from my battery or if I'm looking at from the solar array that's on my rooftop and in my parking lot, what's going to be the best economical decision for my business? So as we look at our technology advancements, the market expertise in real time of what the pricing is, we're able to really optimize how that site is able to be operational ready while also getting the energy cost at the lowest cost possible for that day that they're going to be operating. And by having this level of consulting coupled with the technology advancements, we're able to really move the envelope in a positive way forward so that we're helping to be more proactive with our customer engagements and how we operate our facilities is more resilient while also improving our financial position as well.
What we're seeing is that when customers get this right, those pieces, and let's put cost saving being one, resilience, and perhaps decarbonization as well, they kind of reinforce each other. Being able for the company to prove the business case, right? By undertaking these initiatives, there's a certain amount of money that I can save. Here's the business case. And now I have that money to reinvest in potentially another initiative around sustainability. Related to resilience, resilience, as everybody knows, is reducing downtime. It helps to protect margins when energy market or supply chains get potentially unstable. Decarbonization, the companies that are doing that credibly, it helps to strengthen customer trust. It supports access to new markets and also protects the brand and the claim done on the products that are being produced. So you can imagine, as a result, you can end up with an organization that, all summed up, the organization can make a faster, more confident decisions, and more than ever before, now the decision that can be made and supported by sustainability data can be done at the speed of any other business decisions that are taken into an organization. But once again, at the foundation of doing all of these things and to achieve these goals, data is the key. If the data is not trusted, is not assured, it's really hard for leaders to rely on this data to make decisions. It's a competitive advantage to have data that can be trusted, that can help the decision-making process, which in turn will help to achieve lower operating cost, a lower risk, and a stronger brand reputation on the market.
I think it's a really exciting time for us to be a part of this sustainability and decarbonization journey. Makes me energized, makes me really excited for the future ahead. And with that, I'm really interested in what makes you optimistic about where companies are headed over the next few years.
We're seeing sustainability maturing from what it was aspiration into real execution. I'm also optimistic because artificial intelligence is changing what's possible. It allows companies to move beyond manual data collection and what I would call backward-looking reports toward more real-time insight and action. Leaders will use AI to improve data quality. We expect they will use it for automating validation and for prescriptive decision-making and not just to generate reports. We expect that leaders will embed AI into core workflows, from energy optimization to supply chain risk management to product design and readiness for compliance matters. So sustainability decision will pretty much happen at the same speed as all other business decisions are made. Over the next few years, the winners, we expect, won't just set the goals, but they also set the technology foundation to achieve these goals rapidly and improve progress in a credible way. That's really what makes me optimistic.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Optimistic Outlook. Be sure to tune in for more conversations with leaders shaping technology for a better tomorrow. Please subscribe to The Optimistic Outlook wherever you listen to your podcasts, and be sure to share the podcast with a friend or colleague.